today, man, we're back in the Ultimate Sales Machine, and I had so much fun with this section because from, Coach Russ's perspective, I'm a stage guy. I'm in front of rooms. I'm teaching, training, leading. I've been on some big stages. I traveled the country teaching, and this really gave me some great insights on how to improve our presentation skills and really communicating through people, not just in words, actually in visual. That the communication you provide that gets through the eyes is going to increase your productivity, increase your success. And so, guys, man, I could talk about this chapter for the next hour and a half. And I always want you guys to lead the charge. So what jumped off these pages at you?
The ability to improve your presentation by having visuals, it just jumps dramatically. You can talk about something or you can talk about it and show it. And the percentages were really, I don't have it in front of me right this second, so maybe someone else can reference it. But it changed my perspective on what am I doing? How am I presenting? And how effective am I really?
Page 192.
Thank you.
We human beings remember 20% of what we hear. By the way, let's have some fun. I taught the same material for 5 years, pretty much the exact same script. I can't tell you how many times people came up to me having come the second time and said, oh my God, I'm so excited that you have updated this, that there's all this new stuff, when it was the exact same content. And I just thank them for it because we are only paying attention a small amount. And again, as it says here, we remember 20% of what we hear in isolation, 30% of what we see in isolation, and 50% of what we see combined. In other words, what we both hear and see. So just think about this. And I'm looking at this through the lens of presenting, from stage or in these rooms, as well as from you guys on your listing or buyer's presentations.
Yeah.
How much are you sitting there talking and only having a 20% effectiveness? And what can we do to talk and show and make it 50% effectiveness? Thanks for starting at that, Celeste. What else you guys have from the content? Go, Evelyn. Mike hot first, Evelyn. That's always a house rule.
Okay. Color also helps. So I thought it was interesting, the colors. And I've always heard orange and yellow, but he went through all of it. So the eyes are drawn to the people in those photos before they consider the actual landscape. So he says, orange says value. Green is the color of money, which we highlight in green. And red is the color which draws the eyes, which I thought was interesting because I always thought red was danger, and which it is, I guess, blood. Blue says tried and true. So the colors were interesting to me. And I know when I used to do lots of just, paper flyers, I would try to do yellows and different colors, but I didn't see anything on yellow.
Well, here's the fun part. In here, there isn't anything on yellow, and there isn't anything on teal, and there isn't anything on azure, and there isn't anything on turquoise, and there isn't anything on all these subshades. And yet, do you guys think the research is out there?
Yes.
And so you guys can Google it. You can find it. You can get more. The fun part for me is in your presenting how much color visual is in any presentation you do versus black and white data. And we love showing numbers. How about stuff that has nothing to do with what we're actually talking about directly, yet does indirectly and subtly. Celeste, you're ready to go, I can tell.
Yeah, I've got a couple ideas. Most recently, I've been watching commercials that have drug promotion. They're trying to get you to take something. And if you notice, the packaging that is promoted might be purple or lavender. And the people who are in the presentation in the show, you'll notice they're walking around with that color on their outfit. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that works. That seems to look good.
Yeah.
And you don't even know. And home stagers do it. If you ever look, a good home stager will come up with a color. Usually it's red, but it's a color that they pepper into the picture or the room so that the camera gets that consistency of color. And then your presentation of photos seem to just work. So when I talk to people and I explain this strength of theme when you're selling a home, you just don't know all the nuances that can be done in a color that you introduce into the room. So we're really clearing the spaces, but just suggesting a color. Why? Because your eye wants it. You need that to help you through I get this home. I get this home.
Yep.
What are you showing us, Evelyn?
I'm showing you my brochure that's orange. Can you see it?
Okay, so you got a little orange on the bottom of that
Yep,
to
orange.
draw some attention in, to bring it in. Doug, I see your mic's hot. What do you got, my friend? And then you just turned it mute.
And then
You
I
said,
turned
"Okay,
it.
well, that's
I turned it off. I'm so used to going to the mic to turn it on before I say something. It was on by mistake, but yeah, branding, and I've noticed a lot here lately when I go into model homes that this green color that's kind of around our picture seems to be a dominant theme through a lot of people that are staging right now. I don't know why, but I see that. I think we all see that as we go to different new builders' homes and interior design displays, that we see certain color themes that kind of go for a while and then they change. And I don't know where that research is on which is the brightest bringing color, but I heard Dave Ramsey talk about it one time where they had the real estate agents with the gold coats on. Remember that? And that was a real eye-catching color. And so there is a lot of research out there on this. And your branding, once you get it set, it just really it really catches the eye, and people remember the same thing that they see over and over and over and over. And that's what you want your brand to do.
Don't we have
Don Hobbs should be here right now.
I was just about to say, don't we have a brand guy in here?
Yep. And yet this section's about presenting, guys. I want to make sure we're talking about presenting. We spent quite a bit on color. Get that, love that. Yet there's a lot of good pieces in here on presenting. What did you guys take out?
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm not sure if that was in this section, but I know one of the things is, I'm doing it now as I didn't even think about it. I present with my hands. I'm literally doing it and I didn't even think about it. But speaking with your hands with movement increases how you present to other people and how they look at what you do. And this little thing called a smile here that actually increases your presentation. I think it was said that in TEDx, those that speak with their hands have an increased amount of retention by people who listen to what they're saying.
Awesome. Yes. And that absolutely was this last section, yesterday's as well as in today, in the 3 modes of communication. The words you use, how you use them, the way you speak, and the body language piece. Absolutely are all critical, and body language, as Klein is pointing out, is the most. Celeste, jump into rule number 3, because there are 7 rules. I believe it's 7 here on effective presenting. Make it 8. 8 rules on effective presenting. Rule number 3.
Yeah,
Go
the
for it.
one
What
the
did
one
you
that I
see?
loved was the wow facts. When you are presenting, it isn't what your topic is always about. Like the typical is you're presenting, maybe you're selling somebody's home. It would be very beneficial to learn what is the backstory of why this moment in time is the best time for someone to be on the market. And to go there would be to compare to what was going on 30 years ago, what happened 20 years ago, what happened 10 years ago, what happened in this last year that makes today, this very moment, the best moment for you. Whatever that factoid is, you're sharing something that now they're looking at you as though you're not just somebody who is saying, I want to sell your home. You're giving them the backstory, which is going to be very different than anyone else that presents, because you've gone through just, it's a story, but it's the wow. Can you believe where we are today?
I read a great quote yesterday. My old friend Gary Keller is great with data. He knows his data. And he said the economy is not in recession. Real estate is in recession. If you look at the numbers on this wow factor and showed the data of this beginning of a real estate recession, and then tied it back. By the way, when was the last time we had the beginning of a real estate recession?
2008.
Yep, 2000.
And what did 2009-10 look like?
A bloodbath for many.
Might now, as you make that comparison and show 9-10, might now really be the best time to get this house sold versus chase the market down, right? The data is there that you guys can use in the presentation to get the wow factor. And here's the other fun part about it. The visuals of that. Could you pull the visuals of the entire street with for sale signs? The new construction gone. So many things that you could pull of images from the public domain, which would tell the story in color of what happened and what is in the process of potentially happening again. Could you also use the data of affordability? By the way, when was the last time affordability was so far out of whack? Come on, Jeanette, just say it again.
Oh, the last 2 years ago, it was way out of whack.
Well, the last time it was this far out of whack was again that 2007, 2008 numbers.
Well, it was that, and then just before that, it was 19, or it was the 9/11 time frame. So that was 19.
Yeah. I mean, there's so
2000,
many ways that you
2001.
guys can tie this data together to get this wow factor in place. Okay, so
And-
go look it up. Go do it.
And I also want to say, for people who are new on here, how many of us started in a down market? What was called a down market? I started in a down market. I started in 2001, standing in front of the TV. Okay, oh God, did I hear you right? And then I just went, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I went and did it. It wasn't, somebody always needs someone they trust to help them buy and sell real estate. We get to choose to be those people. And where does the trust start first? It starts here. It starts with me. Do I trust myself to be able to go in and do that work? Because I know what my intent is. And out of that, for us, birthed the Dave Ramsey things, because we knew people, we could come in and help people with their finances. So we would host Dave Ramsey classes because we knew we were building people's lives and attitudes for the future. And we did probably 16 to 20 classes over that 16-year peririd.
Absolutely. Be educational. Ties it back into the last section. Yet there's a fun one here because you brought it up, Jeanette, trust.
Mm-hmm.
There's one person I trust when it comes to lending in Texas who happens to be in the room. And rule number 4
Go Mark.
says build in opportunities for stories. as you're talking about this shift in the market, all of a sudden you could bring in a current story of your buddy Mark Hairston. Mark, talk about what you just experienced, what you just put in the chat. Let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, I've been doing the this mortgage space for 40 years in Austin, so since 1985, and this is my fourth recession to go through: the 80s, the dot-com bubble of 2008 and 9, of course, and this one. We've been on a bull run for about 12 to 13 years now, so there had to be a correction. This has been a big correction, and so to answer your question, the last two loans I closed last week, one was a foreclosure in Temple, and one was a short sale in Cedar Park. And I haven't done those in probably 10 years. We just haven't seen it, but I think we're going to see more of it, at least locally. I can't speak for the country, but Austin has gone through a transition. And I remember Robert Kiyosaki back in the 80s. He wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad way before he became an author. He used to do seminars, and I saw him live. And Texas was going through a terrible recession in the late 80s. And he said, this is a great time to be in business because there's opportunities that you never will find again. And I think there's opportunities right now that we won't see if we wait in real estate, whether it be ourselves buying properties or for our clients. That's my opinion.
Amen. And there's a great story there to be had that you guys can leverage. And
Yes.
everybody knows the Austin markets was the hottest market, the fastest place, the greatest place to live. You can tie that in. And the other thing about being in this market, especially if you're new, you're now learning how to do it right. So let's just go through these rules for effective prospecting real quick. So everybody who didn't get a chance to read the content gets the content. Rule number 1, keep
And
it simple.
give us the page that you're going on, Russ.
I'm on page 196. Keep it simple, stupid. Your
Yeah.
presentation has to be easy to follow, easy to understand. Number 2, keep it fast paced. Don't say blah, blah, blah when blah will do. Keep things music. We heard rule number 3, use wow facts and statistics. We already heard rule number 4, build in opportunities for stories and use them.
Yeah.
Rule number 5, your presentation should be curiosity driven. If it's question driven, doesn't that automatically drive that? Number 6, think of each headline. And I did this with my listing presentation. It was a PowerPoint. And each page had, in essence, a headline on it. Okay? So each page should have a headline that works as hard as possible to get that intrigue, to get them to be open-minded to it. You might want to run it through subjectline.com.
I was going to say that.
Yep. Rule number 7, be confident, but not obnoxious. I'll say be confident and not arrogant. It's a fine line for some people, and Lord knows historically, I was way over it. And finally, rule number 8, focus on them, not you. Make it all about them. I love this quote. Maturity is when all of your mirrors turn into windows. Most of us spend the time looking for what we look like, how we sound, looking at us. Make this all about them.
It's not about you.
What else you guys have from the 8 rules of presenting? What jumped off at you?
Well, I think going back to what you were saying about the last one, make it all, it's not about how you look, it's how they look. Even people that resist doing videos. Well, I don't like the way I sound, I don't like the way I look. Okay, but you also tell me that you love the people that you're working for. You love coming from contribution and making sure that they have the best information possible. Change the way you look at things. The things you look at change is what that boils down to.
So that is true. The reason why it's not about you is because people are inherently selfish, inherently so. And so if I'm talking to, and I'm not saying Russ is selfish, but if I'm talking to Russ, if I'm talking to Russ and he is trying to buy a car, he doesn't really want to hear about my life as a salesman. he really wants to hear, what is this? How's this car going to make me feel? Is my hair going to be blowing in the wind as I'm driving with the top down? Are the
That
chicks going to be
assumes
looking at
facts,
me?
not in evidence.
Are the chicks going to be looking at me
Yeah,
saying,
it's the same
ooh?
thing. If Klein was buying a car, he wants to know how his hair is going to feel blowing in the wind.
But you know, that's what it's about. But we
Yeah.
go in there as agents and we sell ourselves. And many times it's very distasteful to the customer because they're calling you because they have
Well,
a problem.
And I love you made the jump, client, because you went from it about you to about my experience in the car. You jumped about the car, which you should have. That was perfection. Because a lot of times we will present either about how great we are. Here's my history. Here's how awesome an agent I am. Here's how long I've been doing it. Or we'll present about the process. Look at my marketing plan. Ooh, it's going to do great stuff. And the reality is a great listing presentation is asking about them, talking about their needs, their goals, their desires, and really understanding and then providing a solution. It's so interesting with this new revenue share 2.0 at EXP, because I'm also doing some recruiting work here. How, because it's changed, I haven't been using any videos, and instead I've been just having coaching conversations. And the level of success is so much higher because now it's all about them finding out what their needs are and then talking about how we can solve their problems. No difference. So that leads me into the 8 common mistakes presenters.
Can I add a quick comment before you go
If
into
it's
the
very quick, because I want to make sure we get these 8 in. Go, Jeanette.
Yes. Rule number 8 with the focus not on them, not on you. That said, turning, those mirrors into windows. The most mature person is a relationship is the one doing the list, is one listening the most. He's thinking about the other person's needs and how to meet him. So you have a personal confidence about where you are with things. And then he says, I start all my training by finding out what the challenge my audience is facing. And so we'll even ask, so what are some of the problems you're seeing in the industry right now if he's presenting? But the most mature person in the relationship is the one who's listening the most, because you have confidence that you don't have to, your eyes aren't on you. You can
Listening
focus on them.
to hear, listening to understand, not listening to respond. That's the key. So let's get into these 8 mistakes. Number 1, right out of the gate, I love this. Thanking prospects for their time or apologizing for taking it. We've been taught, you walk in, oh, thank you so much for your time today. Don't do it. Get straight into the content. Number 2, presenting with your hands in your pockets. Like Klein said, speaking with your hands is actually a good thing. Always keep your hands above your waist and out in front of your body. Number 3, presenting from a sitting position. On your listing presentations, how many of you go sit at the kitchen table and you keep your butt in the seat talking? How cool now to take the opportunity to get outside your comfort zone, ask to stand because you think better when you're standing, and test presenting on that from a standing position, even in a one-on-one or 2-on-1. Number 5, letting the materials upstage you or guide you. Letting what's there. And here's really what he's talking about. And it's one of my flipping pet peeves. You go to some conference, some training, and one of the presenters is putting up a slide and reading the slide verbatim. Knock it off. Have visuals that jog your memory. Practice so you know the material based on the visual rather than just reading the slide or presenting the slide word for word. Number 6, keeping it totally serious. Are funerals pretty freaking somber events? And yet great eulogists, great pastors, do they get people in the room laughing? Even in that situation, being a great presenter means bringing the humor in. Mistake number 7, failing to practice. failing to practice. Failing to practice. Finally, number 8, having no idea what comes next in the presentation. If you practice, you know. If your headers are strong, it'll get you to that slide, and yet you should have something before so you can lead into it. So the slide doesn't just come out of nowhere. So those are the 8 guys, and it is 10:30. So tomorrow, chapter 9, the nitty gritty of getting the best buyers is what we're going to attack. It is Thursday. So today I know I have my Financial Freedom Master class 1 to 2 o'clock Puerto Rico time. I love having my clock now changed. This is exciting. And then a 3 to 5 Puerto Rico time, we are having conversations today. Guys, I'd love to see more of you in conversation time. It's been a thin crowd. Nobody showed up yesterday, and gosh darn it, you should be in there. You should be doing the work. No matter what, even if you don't think you have people to talk to, use it as practice. And Don Hobbs, what did you post?
I just posted a video that Bob Berg sent over to us that we can use for the promotion of the event. I just sent Mark Harrison and his lovely bride all kinds of stuff around that stuff. You guys get the
Mark
stuff
who?
out of get it out of accelerators or get it out of Epic. There's videos, there's promotion, there's stuff, there's just stuff. Go get it, post it. We're going to have over 150 people there. I'm really shooting for 200. Let's go.
Why are you
Don.
shooting so low? I think with Mark's help, we can get to 500.